Let's take a trip on my magic banana. It's a flavorful extravaganza over clouds, over trees, over seas, over space and time. Start at the tip and move towards the stem. Soon we'll be out in the solar system, seeing stars we never dreamed we would ever see. Let's take a trip on my magic banana. Are you David?
Sam?
The app says we are going to PauHaus in Hollywood. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
How's your day going so far?
Well, I completely lost everything I was working on, so not great at the moment.
Oh no, what happened? Your computer died or something else?
No, someone asked me a question. I don't even remember what the question was. I was so close.
So close to what?
I'm an artist, and I'm not even sure what I was working on. But it's gone now.
I don't understand.
You ever have one of those moments where you're completely in it? Like so deep in what you're doing that the rest of the world just evaporates? It's not just concentration, it's something bigger, something almost sacred. The noise, the distractions, even the passage of time. It all melts away until it's just you and the thing you're working on. It doesn't even feel like work at that point. Work is effort, and this is effortless. You're not thinking about the mechanics of what you're doing. It's like you've tapped into some current, some energy, and it's carrying you along. Your entire being aligns in these moments. Everything about you synchronizes as if the universe has cleared the path, and all the pieces of yourself, the things you've learned, the things you've felt, the things you've dreamed, are right there, perfectly lined up. It's this rare, fragile moment where the boundary between you and the work dissolves. You're not creating something, you are the creation, shaping itself as it unfolds. The feeling becomes almost addictive, that clarity, that flow. You don't want it to end. You don't want anything to pull you out of it because once you're there, you realize how rare it is to feel this complete. While you're in it, there's this little part of you whispering, "Stay here. Don't let go. This is where you're supposed to be." And then someone taps you on the shoulder, or your phone rings even though you're on D&D, but your earbuds ring anyway. Or there's a crash outside, or someone asks you literally anything. Just like that, it's gone. The flow vanishes. That thread you were holding, weaving into something delicate and beautiful, just disintegrates. Like a spider web blown apart by a careless gust of wind. The worst part? It's not just gone. It's obliterated. There's no trace of it left, no way to pick it back up. You're sitting there surrounded by the scattered pieces of what could have been, expected to act like everything is fine. The thing that interrupted you, something so trivial, so absurdly meaningless that makes you want to scream. Did you see some stupid meme from 2 years ago? That's what shattered my concentration. That's what ripped me out of something I might never get back. It feels like a robbery, a theft of something you can't explain but know you'll miss forever. The person who interrupted you doesn't even realize what they've done. To them, it's nothing. Just a small question, a text, a casual thought. They don't know they've yanked you out of a world you were building brick by fragile brick, leaving you with nothing but rubble. And the devastation runs deep. It's not just the work you lose, it's the moment. That perfect, rare alignment of thought, feeling, and energy that happens maybe once in a day, once in a week. Now it's gone, ripped apart by something so inconsequential that it's almost insulting. They walk away or text you back, "Okay, thanks," while you're left there staring at your empty hands, wondering how they don't feel the weight of what they've just destroyed. Most people don't understand what it costs to get to that place. It's not just sitting down and starting. It's so much more than that. It's layers upon layers of thought, memory, emotion, and instinct, all stacked together in this delicate, impossible balance. It's hours, days, maybe years of practice and effort, distilled into a moment where everything aligns perfectly. When you're in that moment, it's not just work, it's a kind of magic. Every detail, every fleeting idea, every half-formed vision hangs there, suspended, waiting for you to bring it to life. The balance remains fragile. It's like walking a tightrope 1,000 feet up. Every step precise, deliberate. One little nudge, one small disruption, and the whole thing collapses. Not gently, not in a way you can recover. It shatters. All those pieces you were holding, all that beauty you were about to create, scatter into nothing. You're left standing there, blinking, trying to remember where you were, what you were building, who you even are in that moment. Meanwhile, the person who disrupted you remains oblivious. They'll glance at you and say something like, "Does this sweater make my elbows look weird?" Or, "Have you seen my charger?" You're just staring at them, struggling to keep your voice calm when all you want to do is scream, "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Because they haven't just interrupted your work. They've knocked you out of a state that took everything to reach. A state that, for you, is sacred. Now it's gone. Just like that. The process goes beyond focus. It's about the way ideas live in your mind. When I'm working, the idea isn't just a passing thought. It's a whole little world I'm building, piece by fragile piece, in my head. Nothing about it is random. Every detail matters. Every tiny element is part of this intricate, interconnected system. Colors, textures, feelings, fragments of memory, all balanced and spinning together like a mobile. Each part supports the others. Every connection strengthening the whole. It's delicate, sure, but when it works, it's breathtaking. It's like holding an entire galaxy in your hands. The frustration becomes unbearable. Not just anger, but grief. Grief for the idea you lost, for the flow that's gone, for the piece of yourself you were giving freely, joyfully, only to have it ripped away. There's no way to explain it without it sounding dramatic. "Oh, sorry I snapped at you. It's just that your question destroyed the piece of my soul I was carefully threading into this project." Who says that? Who would believe that? So the feeling stays bottled up, the frustration pushed down while you try to move forward. This feeling lingers. It's not just the work you've lost, it's the connection you had to it. You were in a moment where you felt alive, electric, fully engaged with something meaningful. And now, that moment is gone. You're left trying to pick up the pieces, to re-enter that headspace, knowing deep down that the magic of it has already slipped through your fingers. Sometimes, in the aftermath of disruption, something unexpected happens. Not immediately. At first, you're just sitting in the wreckage, furious, mourning what you've lost. But then, a strange thing happens. A new idea sneaks in, uninvited, like a wildflower growing through a crack in the pavement. Because creativity isn't just about perfect focus. It's not about maintaining control or holding on to every fragile thread. It's about resilience. It's about surviving the chaos. It's about how your brain, stubborn as it is, refuses to give up. For creative people, interruptions cut deeper than mere inconvenience. Each disruption feels like being pulled out of a dream you were still in the middle of building. We don't just do work, we live in it. immerse ourselves fully in a world of our own making. Every moment we're creating, we're not just solving problems or completing tasks. We're weaving something personal, something fragile and alive. When that's interrupted, it's not just frustrating, it's disorienting. It feels like being yanked out of water mid-dive, gasping for breath, and left wondering if you'll ever find your way back to where you were. Non-creative people experience interruptions differently. For them, disruptions might be annoying, inconvenient, but they don't feel existential. Their work, important as it may be, often exists outside of themselves. Measurable, linear, something they can set down and pick back up without losing a part of who they are. But for creatives, the work is us. It's tangled up in our identity, our emotions, our sense of purpose. An interruption doesn't just stop the task. It breaks the connection between who we are and what we're making. Rebuilding that connection, it's slow, painful, and sometimes impossible. That's the difference. For us, interruptions aren't just about time lost. They're about losing a piece of ourselves.
Do you think that's true of all creative people?
More or less, yes, because most people are the opposite about completion as well. And completion is the secret to being a creative person.
What do you mean?
Well, it's like that mascot lyric. Finish what you start, and you can call it art.
I don't know that one.
You ever notice how some people just don't know when to stop? How they've got this compulsive need to tinker, to twist, to turn everything over in their hands like some nervous tick of the soul? It's not just a habit. It's a psychological disorder of perpetual dissatisfaction. You know the type. You finish something, anything, and here they come, swooping in with their unsolicited expertise. Have you thought about adding this? Why don't you try it this way? You know what would make this better? They're like human mosquitoes of modification, unable to let a single completed task exist in peace. You could present them with a perfectly crafted document, a meticulously planned project, and they'll zero in on some microscopic detail that needs improvement, completely missing the forest for a single infinitesimal bark fragment. It's not helpful suggestions, it's an invasion. A compulsive need to leave their mark, to prove their supposed superiority by dismantling what you've already done. They don't create, they deconstruct. They don't solve, they complicate. Every finished thing is just a canvas for their neurotic reimagining. Every completed task, a provocation to their restless, twitching need to meddle. Take my friend Alex. The man's a walking testament to the art of never being done. His kitchen, a laboratory of obsessive experimentation. Every cut of salmon gets measured, brined, scrutinized. He's got a collection of skillets, cast iron, copper core, non-stick, carbon steel that he uses to prepare each fillet with surgical precision, as if transcendence lies somewhere between 145 and 146 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see the strain in his shoulders, the tension in his jaw as he hovers over a pork belly that's been dry rubbed with his latest perfect blend of 16 different spices. His spice cabinet looks like a mad scientist's apothecary. Little labeled jars of everything from Aleppo pepper to Vietnamese cinnamon. God forbid you mention fish sauce around him. You'll get a 30-minute dissertation on the subtle differences between Korean, Thai, and Vietnamese varieties, complete with tasting notes like he's some kind of underwater sommelier. Meanwhile, the rest of his apartment looks like a crime scene that's been ransacked by a tornado with attention deficit disorder. Cardboard boxes in various states of decay crowd every available corner, stacked like a hoarder's architectural fever dream. Unmarked boxes teeter atop labeled boxes, which balance precariously on still more boxes, creating a labyrinthine monument to accumulated chaos. Antique radios from different decades sit in random clusters. A 1930s Zenith here, a mid-century Philco there, their dials and knobs collecting a fine patina of dust. Ornate picture frames lean against the walls, stack on shelves, hang at impossible angles, creating a visual cacophony of forgotten memories and impulse purchases. Each surface is a geological stratum of accumulated stuff. Old magazines buried under unread books, electronics tangled with charging cables, random kitchen gadgets sprouting from the spaces between his meticulously collected radio collection like opportunistic weeds. But does he ever tackle any of it? No. He will spend 4 hours making phone calls and sending emails to solve a $50 problem because he cannot stop fighting with people until he gets his way. His tenacity becomes a weaponized form of procrastination, a marathon of hold music and carefully crafted email arguments that would make a lawyer look lazy. He'll debate customer service representatives with the same intense focus he applies to reducing a sauce, parsing every word, challenging every statement, turning a minor billing discrepancy into an epic quest of principle. The apartment remains a disaster zone. While he wages these prolonged bureaucratic battles, his sense of victory measured not in cleanliness or organization, but in the number of supervisors he's managed to escalate his complaint to, the number of emails he's sent, the precise articulation of his grievance. 4 hours, $50. The math makes no sense to anyone but Alex, who sees each interaction as a personal challenge to be methodically, obsessively won. And what does he do every time I finish working on something? He starts telling me what I should add, how I should change it, etc. Can't finish anything of his own that isn't edible, but is always ready to get involved with working on something else, which, if left up to him, would never be finished. I think that in many ways, walking away from the work is the most profound act of creation.
Well, I guess I'm going to make the creative decision to end our ride here. I'd appreciate a 5-star review in the app, please.
My pleasure. Thanks for the conversation.